We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
The special counsel's investigation finds Biden not competent to stand trial. The Supreme Court hears arguments on Trump's ballot access, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. According to special counsel Robert Hur's report on President Biden's mishandling of classified documents released Thursday, Biden could not remember key details, such as when he was vice president, during interviews with investigators. Hur has been investigating Biden's improper retention of classified documents since last year. The papers included classified documents about military and foreign policy in Afghanistan, among other national security and foreign policy records, which Hur said contained sensitive intelligence sources and methods. The report stated that Biden did take records that he was not entitled to and shared classified information with the ghostwriter of his autobiography. Hur announced, however, that he would not seek criminal charges against Biden because Biden would not be competent to stand trial. The report details how Biden's memory failed him in multiple instances during the interviews, struggling to remember when he served as vice president in the Obama administration and when his son Beau died. Additionally, Hur's office believed Biden's lawyers would use those limitations in his recall if it went to trial. President Biden claimed his memory lapses were a result of the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Biden told reporters that he was handling an international crisis at the time of his interviews with federal investigators. I sought no delays. In fact, I was so determined to get the special counsel what they needed, Biden remarked. I went forward with a 5-hour in-person interview over the 2 days of October, the 8th and 9th last year, even though Israel had just been attacked by Hamas on the 7th. I was in the middle of handling an international crisis. Biden's explanation rings hollow after 2 instances this week where he told stories about conversations he had with foreign officials after they died. The Supreme Court on Thursday signaled deep skepticism that Colorado had the power to remove former President Donald Trump from the Republican primary ballot because of his actions related to January 6th. A majority of the justices appeared to think during the 2-hour argument that states do not have a role in deciding whether a presidential candidate can be barred from running under a provision of the Constitution's 14th Amendment that bars people who engaged in insurrection from holding office. Justices from across the ideological spectrum raised concerns about states reaching different conclusions on whether a candidate could run, and several indicated that only Congress could enforce the provision at issue. Trump has never been charged or found guilty of insurrection, and Justice Sotomayor expressed concern that Trump was not being given due process. Russian leader Vladimir Putin said a prisoner exchange would probably lead to the release of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, but he declined to give a time frame for the deal and said Gershkovich was caught committing espionage in Russia. Gershkovich has been detained since March 2023 on an espionage allegation that he, the Wall Street Journal, and the U.S. government vehemently deny. In a 2-hour interview with former Fox News host Tucker Carlson, Putin said a prisoner swap was being discussed between the U.S. and Russia. Such talks have led to swaps in the past, and probably this is going to be crowned with success as well, Putin said. But we have to come to an agreement. A gun rights group representing over 2 million members and activists wants answers from Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on alleged privacy violations committed by her department. Yellen testified before the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee on Thursday. In a letter sent ahead of her testimony, Gun Owners of America requested that committee lawmakers press the secretary on recent revelations that federal investigators asked banks to search and filter customer transactions for terms related to the firearms industry. Congress cannot allow the federal government to continue establishing and expanding databases on guns and gun owners, wrote Aidan Johnston, Director of Federal Affairs for the Gun Owners Association. Whether it's the misuse of gun store records and financial data by the Department of Justice or firearm transaction data by the Department of the Treasury, data collection on guns and their lawful owners must be stopped. Yellen's agency had requested banks look into transactions from stores such as Dick's Sporting Goods and Cabela's. Hawaii's highest court on Wednesday ruled that Second Amendment rights as interpreted by the U.S. Supreme Court do not extend to Hawaii citizens, citing the spirit of aloha. In the ruling, which was penned by Hawaii's Supreme Court Justice Todd Edens, the court determined that states retain the authority to require individuals to hold proper permits before carrying firearms in public. The decision also concluded that the Hawaii Constitution broadly does not afford a right to carry firearms in public places for self-defense, further pointing to the spirit of aloha, and even quoting HBO's TV drama The Wire. Article 1, Section 17 of the Hawaii Constitution mirrors the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, the Hawaii Supreme Court decision states. We read those words differently than the current United States Supreme Court. We hold that in Hawaii there is no state constitutional right to carry a firearm in public. The spirit of aloha clashes with a federally mandated lifestyle that lets citizens walk around with deadly weapons during day-to-day activities, it adds. The history of the Hawaiian Islands does not include a society where armed people move about the community to possibly combat the deadly arms of others. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.